not the word, or is this the Muslim?
No, this is just general society.
General
This-
society.
Yes. Muslims are not too far behind. We are all in the same group. So, we are all have the same issues. This is just an overview which I'm going to discuss, starting with the definition, the wilaya according to the Quran and the Hadith, the neuroscience behind it, and the benefits of having a true concept of wilaya, and how do we cultivate wilaya among ourselves, and a take-home message. Next, please. So the definition of wilaya. Wilaya has several definitions. According to Mufradatul Raghib, who defines Islamic Quranic terminology, there are like 27 different meanings of wilaya. So the one which we are going to discuss is about qurb or nearness or closeness. When two things are so close together, there is no gap between them. And Quran, Surah number 9, ayah 71 says, believers, both men and women, are allies of one another. That means wali of each other. They enjoin good, forbid evil, establish prayer, pray zakat, and obey Allah and His Messenger, and Allah will show mercy on them. Imam Ali alayhi salam has mentioned that true friends are like a single soul between two different bodies. Next. Now, again, I mentioned that there are different concepts of wilaya. The one we are going to use for our present discussion is about friendship and closeness between believers. Next, please. I have already mentioned this before. Imam Baqir mentioned the basis of Islam depends on prayer, zakat, fasting, and wilaya. And wilaya is the most important thing. And as Shias of Ahl Bayt, we know that wilaya is our identity. Next, please. Now, there are certain key words. If you understand the key words, then you can understand the whole concept. There is a neural concept called neural synchrony, or brain-to-brain coupling. When two people are on the same wavelength and think alike, their brain starts firing at the same frequencies and same wavelength. So, and there is also concept of mirror neurons. When scientists were working on monkeys, they found that even in monkeys, which is the primates, their neurons will start firing according to their caretaker. So this is called mirror neurons. Also, there is a word called social cohesiveness. When two communities are very close together, it's like a glue, making them stick together. Fraternization, the concept of brotherhood, muwaqa'at. This is the first thing that the Prophet established after migrating from, doing hijrat from Makkah to Medina. He made brothers between Ansar and Muhajir, and he made Imam Ali his brother. And there is a concept which has come into psychology and is called Rosetto effect. I'll discuss that more in detail. And oxytocin is a chemical that our body secretes when there is bonding between two individuals. And next is the concept of the social capital or social trust. This is a very important concept, so in the end I'm going to discuss that, and from there we're going to segue into how to develop a network of individuals in our community. Next, neural synchrony, I discussed before. It's brain-to-brain coupling. The brain starts firing on the same wavelength. It also reflects in mirror neurons, resonance, greater understanding and cooperation, empathy, and improved performance and teamwork. There is a hadith which says, al-mu'min mirratul mu'min. Means a mu'min is a mirror of another mu'min. And there are certain characteristics of a mirror. Mirror, when it gives the message, it does not exaggerate or decrease, lessen. It gives you the exact fact. So a mu'min, if he wants to correct somebody, don't exaggerate or lessen the thing. And also, the mirror gives it in private, does not publicize. So there's a concept, praise in public, criticize in private. Again, the concept of neural synchrony, again, the brain waves synchronize, corresponding areas of the brain fire at the same time. They found pilots and co-pilots, their high levels of interbrain connectivity during takeoff and landing because they have to need to act as a team. Next. And there are certain chemicals that the body secretes in response to connectivity, and dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Next. The most important of all these chemicals is oxytocin. It's called the nature's ultimate bonding agent. Released when two people connect with each other, and initially this concept was discovered when a mother is nursing a child. They thought was secreting the child and the mother, both were oxytocin levels were higher up. But now they have come to the conclusion that it can happen even between two intimate friends, husband and wife. This is a very important concept, oxytocin, and there are things that we can do to increase our oxytocin levels. And apparently, people who have autism, for example, have low oxytocin levels. Next, please. The benefits of oxytocin: it promotes pro-social behavior. It improves the immune system, improves problem-solving skills, reduces anxiety and stress, reduces heart rate and blood pressure, and also they found improves physical wound healing. Next, please. Increased levels of oxytocin, as I mentioned before, it improves your mood, enhances emotional bond, and also improves cardiac health. Next. Then the benefits of wilaya, the spiritual benefits which I have discussed before again, is Amar bil Maruf, enjoining good and forbidding evil, encourages spiritual growth. Therefore, there are higher rewards for congregational prayers. When two people are in a congregational prayer, the rewards become doubled, and after 10 people join the rewards, only God knows the extent of the rewards. So Islam from the initial stages had promoted 1400 years ago, has told us how important congregational prayers are. Next. The societal benefits of wilaya, which includes developing of the social capital, forming networks, positive healthy relationships, increases level of interpersonal trust, mutual support. It acts as a lubricant to get things done. Is the glue which promotes cohesiveness, increases cooperation, innovation, productivity, influences life purpose, and life satisfaction. Next, please. There is a community in Pennsylvania which is settled by immigrants from Italy. They start settling there in the early 1900s. They are granite workers. So developed a small community with a little church in the middle and this small houses around it. The family practitioner in that area found there was a strikingly low rate of heart attacks and mortality below 55 years of age. So he mentioned that to a professor of a medical school who did some research on that. He brought his whole team, they checked their cholesterol levels, their blood pressure levels, and they didn't find anything unusual. So they come to the conclusion that this protective effect was from their closeness together. Next, please. So it's called a Rosetto effect. They were family-oriented living, multi-generational. Multiple generations will live in the same house. They're taking care of each other. They had respect for their elders. There was no crimes, no suicides, and they celebrated social events together. So alhamdulillah, in our community we do a lot of this kind of things with our Muharram programming in Ramadan and celebrating the wiladas of our different imams. So that's all gives us that community effect. Next, can you play that?
More than just beautiful dance. In the 1960s, a US town called Rosetta was an anomaly in America. No one under 55 had died of a heart attack or showed any signs of heart disease. The local death rate for men over 65 was half the national average. A team of researchers led by Dr. Stuart Wolf considered whether this was because of their diet, location, family history or exercise habits, but on the surface, nothing was different from the rest of America. In fact, the town was made up of Italian immigrants who worked in quarries and factories, smoked unfiltered cigars, and had dinner tables laden with rich Italian food. Rosettans of the 1960s still held on to their old world ways. It was normal to find 3 generations under the same roof. 80% of men in the town were members of at least one community group. They would gather in each other's kitchens, play cards and simply talk. The conclusion? Rosettans were nourished by each other. Over the next decade, the multi-generational homes broke up, and by 1971, when opulent houses, expensive cars and swimming pools appeared, the first person under the age of 55 died of a heart attack. By the 1980s, the rate of fatal heart attacks in Rosetta was the same as the rest of the country.
I think it's stopped there.
There's no way.
That's good. Next. Next slide. Okay, now once they became a little bit more affluent, they started moving out of the community, they started building bigger houses, they became quote-unquote Americanized, so the incidence of heart disease and mortality became like the general population. Even between Rosetta and there's a neighboring town called Bangor, Pennsylvania, there was a remarkable difference before this they became Americanized. So obviously the social support gives a protective effect. Now this is a really interesting slide. This is the redwood trees in California. They go up to 350 feet high, but the roots are only 4 to 5 feet deep. So how does this 350 feet trees maintain stability? They do that by intertwining roots. They almost grow together. So, and redwoods do not survive alone. So that's an important lesson for community building, that being together and sharing our resources. And this is the whole concept of Wilayah Alabat. So we need to understand this and apply it in our life practically. Unfortunately, we leave it, we only reach once and we appreciate it, but we don't apply it. You know, we do wah-wah and applaud and all that thing, but it's not transferring into that practical terms. So next, please. Now, there are some hadiths from Imam Hussain alayhi salam, which says, one who desires that his life be prolonged and his sustenance be increased should practice silatul rahim or maintaining ties with kinship. According to there's a hadith, not hadith, is a research was done for this is the longest research on adult development in Dartmouth, Harvard, for 80 years. They found the stronger our relationships, the more likely we are to live happy, satisfying, and overall healthy lives. This is more important than money or stature. The close relationships are very strong. There's a book which just came out last year. Is the key to a long, healthy life is not career achievement or exercise, but a healthy diet. I mean, these things are important too, exercise and diet, but most important is relationships, and it's never too late to cultivate that. And the book's name is The Good Life. Next, please. And how do we practically apply this? So, how do we cultivate better relationships? In this day and age, when we are distracted by our smartphones and other digital devices, we are not paying attention to people whom we interact. We take it for granted. So one of the things that is important to build up relationship is eye-to-eye contact, in paying full attention and not getting distracted. Like, for example, even keeping a cell phone when we are talking to somebody, it takes away about 30 to 40% of our cognitive attention. So, especially like families sitting at a dining table, there should be a curfew that we should not have these things when we are having dinner. But unfortunately, a lot of people are addicted, and that addiction starts at a very young age. You know, they're using the term digital pacifiers. The kids, when they cry, they give them the device to keep them from crying and all that. Right? So we need to prioritize our relationship and be present. Again, present moment consciousness. We have to be mindful. And when difficulties arise, when we have differences, for example, we had a discussion right now about different things, all right? And sometimes that can become very acrimonious. So it says when we have difficulties or when you have contradictory discussions, it's better to be reflective, not reflexive. You know, and also sometimes we have relatives which we haven't spoken to them for a long time. Just call them and tell them how much they matter to us. And every interaction has to end up in a positive manner. Next, please. Now, this is a very interesting slide by a researcher who works on positive psychology, Barbara Fredrickson. She shows this picture of water lilies. Water lilies only come up or expand when there is brightness. And when the sun goes down, they close. So the same thing with our human relationship. If there is positivity, our whole potential comes out. When there is negativity, we shrink. So we can take a lesson from nature, like the intertwining roots of the redwood trees and these water lilies also. Next, please. Now, the importance of trust in our relationship. Trust is very important. The Holy Prophet first proved himself to be al-Sadiq and al-Amin before he gave the message. So we need to, similarly, in our relationship, we should have trust. And there's a hadith which I was talking to one of the Maulanas to make sure it was correct. Said Imam Zainul alayhi salam said, if my father's killer brings the sword that he killed my father with and gives it to me as an amanat, I will preserve it. Can you imagine this? This is the ultimate, you know. So, in our small dealings, we sometimes don't trust each other. So we need to, inshallah, develop that spirit. According to Quran and Hadith, the Muslim society will only survive if there is trust within the family, the institutions, and the government. Trust is critical for the well-being of others. Now, even with children, if you promise them something, first of all, don't over-promise and under-deliver. This under-promise and over-deliver. So, if you want to promise something, make sure you keep up the promise. Next, please. Now, again, as a question, how do we cultivate better relationships? Right. So, just wanted to make it a little interactive. If brothers have any suggestions, how we should do that. Okay. Next. Again, I've mentioned that before, active and empathetic, how to cultivate better relationships, open communications, seek. Sometimes when we're talking to other people, before we hear their point of view, we give our point of view. So it says, be an active listener. First listen to them and then respond. And that's why seek to understand before being understood. And mutual respect. All our discussion should be based on respect. Then the hadith that a moment is more valuable and precious even in the Kaaba, because how important it is. And matching words with our actions. Next, please. Now, cultivate compassion and kindness. Criticize less. You know, if you want to correct somebody, connect before you correct. So these are things that, and also giving gifts. Small gifts doesn't have to have the monetary value is not important. It's just the thought behind it. So al-insan abidul ihsan. Insan is a slave of the gift. So even a small gift, even gift doesn't have to be monetary also. A smile is a gift. It's a sadaqah. So all these things we should try to practice in our lives. Next, please. Okay. Now the objective is to again strengthen our social wilaya. Next, please. Isar, sacrifice. Prioritizing others' needs and being skilled at compromise when individuals create trust, intimacy, and respect within our relationship. Isar. And the element has shown that in several places, even the Surah Bahar was revealed with that concept of Isar, how they sacrifice for others. Next, please. And now, this whole most important thing of this whole discussion is how do we develop the social capital. Social capitals is like similar to economic capital. The social capital is more important than the economic capital for the society. It's the connections, the networks among group of people, that value arises from them so that the community helps each other. It will make them thrive and achieve their full potential. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So I tell you just recently, yesterday it happened, we had a problem with our electric in our in the front. So I thought maybe we should call one of the brothers who is familiar with electricity now. That he came in within a few minutes, 15 minutes, he took care of the problem. And this is the real value of the social capital, how interconnectedness is. And if we know, and then inshallah towards the end, we are going to pass around some papers so that you can give your profession what kind of expertise you have and how we can form a network of physicians, healthcare professionals, or other people, IT, and how we can connect and form a network so we can tap into that and whenever the need arises. Next, please. Now, importance of brotherhood in Islam. This is, I'm quoting from a book called Scale of Wisdom. Imam Ali said, many brothers are not given birth by their own mother. It's amazing. And he said, Imam Baqir said, the believer is the brother of another believer as if from his own mother and father. Now, are we at that level? You know, Imam Sadiq said, the believer is the brother of another believer like a single body. If any part of him suffers, he will feel its pain in his entire body, and their souls are also made of one soul. Next, please. Sheikh Shumali from UK, he's doing a lot of research on this concept of social wilaya. So he has a definition, says, wilaya creates unity among the believers in such a way that in all situations, whether in times of comfort or hardship, in this world or hereafter, they always think about each other, love each other, and they are willing to sacrifice their lives, property, and time for their sisters and brothers in religion. It's an amazing definition, you know. And if we keep that in mind, you know, we are not perfect, but at least we should attempt to come close to this. Next, please. So how does social capital help? So social capital starts with our families, our close friends, our associates. And these are the most important assets that a community can have. It's a social bond or cohesiveness, and it affects almost every aspect of our life. Next, please. Now, there's a lot of research done on this whole concept of social wilaya, which they call social capital. We term it as social wilaya, basically. So there was a book written by a professor from Harvard, Robert Putman, called Bowling Together. It was a film. It's a bestseller. The book, basically, the theme of the bowling alone. Bowling alone. So the concept was the American society is getting so disintegrated and far away that it's having its ripple effects on every aspect of our life. So communities which are rich in social capital are more productive, and they take advantage of the opportunities. They are more strong and resilient. They are better educated, economically prosperous, more trustworthy, improve physical health and social well-being. They are not self-centered or egotistical. Love, compassion, and sacrifice flourishes them. Because of greater collective intelligence, they have better decision making. Next, please. Now, our proposal is to develop a database of the brothers and sisters who have expertise in different fields and how we can contribute to that. Like, for example, if a brother needs help in a health-related field, we have physicians a lot of them in our community, specialists in different fields. We can tap to them. And even if they are being treated by another physician, they can get a second opinion so that make sure the treatment is being rendered properly. Because in this day and age, everything has been commercialized. So even physician is become a business. So it's not necessarily they are not acting in the interest of the patient. They are more interested in making money. So we need to make sure they are being treated properly, and we should have that expertise available. And alhamdulillah, we are doing it to some extent as it is, but if we can coordinate this and make it this list of doctors available who are willing to give opinions or help people out, it will be good for the community. And another thing which is important is, as our population is aging, we are getting a lot of older people, so we can link the older people with the younger people to help them out if they want to go to a physician's office or some work that can be done, or anywhere, shopping, all this, they can get together, and the younger folks who are available, who may have more time to help the older people. I practice in Lakewood, which is a Hasidic community, and I see a lot of my patients, the elderly patients, come with a younger person. So I ask them, are you related to them? They say, no. We are just an organization that if they need help, we are available to help them. Because if an older person comes to a physician's office, first of all, they are under stress. Their memories are not that great. So this person acts to reinforce that. They take notes and goes and guides them properly at home, taking proper medication. So that we need to create that kind of service for our elderly people in our community. And obviously, there's other things also, investments, for example. I know a lot of these people in the community, they pool their resources and they invest, but they have trust among themselves. We need to develop that. Because let's say a person have a limited resource, that investment may not go too far. But if they pool the resources, it can leverage, can go much farther than that. It's a synergistic effect. So, like a lot of problems are happening because of family issues nowadays. One of the Maulanas was telling, of a bigger community, he's telling 60 to 70% of his work is to sort out family relations, the divorces and other issues that are coming in. As more and more we become materialized and commercialized and materialistic, we are going to encounter a lot of these problems. So we need to have among our ranks counselors who can help or nip these things in the bud before they become too far. Next, please. So the take-home message is, Wilaya plays a very important role for the success both in this life and in the hereafter. And it starts with the family. Ayatollah Khamenei, in his book, The Compassionate Family, has made this beautiful statement. In a world preoccupied with the self, he reminds us that a family can only survive with mutual understanding and compromise, determination from all its members, and a willingness to embrace the God-given rights, strength, and talents of each other. Next, please. And this is the message of Adir. It says, praise be to Allah who has blessed us to be amongst those who cling and hold to the divinely commissioned leadership and authority of Amir al-Mu'mineen and all the Imams, peace be upon them. Thank you, brothers, for your attention, and inshallah.
I have a question.
Hold the question till the end.
So,
Organize that. Inshallah. Thank you so much. Salawat.
thank you so much. Very informational.
Inshallah, we come up with some sort of plan at the end of the session here, and all the questions we'll address, inshallah. Please keep this question in mind. We're going to move to our second segment, which is with our Honorable Maulana Mahdi Mohammad, and he will be basically touching some on this topic as well, but of course he will go more detailed with the concept of intizar of Imam Zamana, inshallah. Please say loud salawat.
That's fine. You can just do the same one.
ठीक ठाक है डॉक्टर साहब
Just like you did.
बैठिए get a small table शाबाश मुबारक
Give it to
अल्लाह से
Okay. Can you, just one of you can stand up.
नाम के बारे में
Yeah, you are next. You are volunteer.
exactly right but Muhammad Ali Muhammad salawat
Oh, that other time. Sit here and you drive next. You are driving.
So a few just helpful points. One is that this is a kind of a version 2 of a presentation that I've given before. Not here, but in this basic geography. In case you've attended that presentation, I apologize. Much of it is going to be repetitive. That's the first point. Second point is that the style of this presentation is for us to utilize the PowerPoint to kind of engage with some of the ayat of the Quran and riwayat. So I've intentionally brought text here for us to not just read them, but to go through them. I think it's an important point of literacy in our communities. I mean, I know from the member you cannot have a visual aid. I've tried it before. It is not well received, at least at this moment. And so this is the compromise to do it in a workshop format. But what's helpful in having a visual aid is that we actually start seeing the ahadith, we start seeing the ayat of the Quran. It helps us better engage with them. So apologies to all of you who are good presenters. Please know the style of this presentation is meant to actually focus on what's on the board, less of it being an aid for my wonderful articulate presentation. Okay. So the theme of the workshop, and it's getting us to think about this in a practical manner, of really why we need the Imam. So yes, we have theological explanation, it is the will of God, all of those things, but all of this is to practically think, and especially for your younger kids and teenagers, what's the big deal, right? So what is this need? And the need is really the most important point here. Let's go to the next slide. As an introduction, I want to make a few points. Let's move on next. So if we look to the literature of the ahadith, they tell us a bit about what the role of the Imam is. We're going to move through this a little quickly just because in the interest of time, and also everything that we've read the last few days, all of them we call Shinasnama in Farsi. Like they're a great explanation of who the Imam is and what the Imam does. But it's important for us to kind of know what that is based off of what the traditions are telling us. So in a riwayat we have kind of trying to advance the level of literacy. The question is asked to the community. It says, هل يعرفون قدر الإمامة ومحلها من الأمة? So that basic question, why do we need the Imam? The Imam is asking, does the community actually understand what the role or the worth of the Imamat is and the place in the community, right? As you know, earlier in Islamic history, Some people that understood the Imam as what? Executive, right? Executive, kind of operation officer. You have all the operations of the Muslim community. This person is kind of like, that's their role. The most advanced of them was like the president, right? So the president is like, secure the borders, making sure you disperse of public funds, these sorts of things. But effectively, they're all operational. So here in the Riwayah says that, what is their perception of that? فَيَجُوزُ فِيهَا اِخْتِيَارُهُمْ, that then allows them to choose from themselves who should be the Imam. Right? So there it's an issue of imagination. Most of us in our political imaginations, we understand democracy. We collectively choose the best person and we make them in charge because we assent to that. But is the Imam just like that? So it says, إِنَّ الْإِمَامَ أَجَلُّ قَدْرًا وَأَعْدَمُ شَأْنًا وَأَعْلَى مَكَانًا وَأَمْنَعُ جَانِبًا وَأَبْعَدُ غَوْرًا مِنْ أَنْ يَبْلُغَهَا النَّاسِ بِعُقُولِهِمْ. So he says, who is the Imam? He's more majestic, more worthy, greater in glory, loftier in place, more impregnable of sight, and more remote from the thoughts than the people's intelligent Quran. That means it is not within even the scope of people to decide who should the rightful Imam be. Clearly, it is not our decision. It's something of a higher status that Allah should choose. أَوْ يَنَالُوهُمْ بِآرَائِهِمْ أَوْ يُقِيمُوا إِمَامًا بِاخْتِيَارِهِمْ. So the people will try to choose the best one, attain it by their opinions, or that they should be establishing their own Imam by choice. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So who is the Imam then? إِنَّ الْإِمَامَ زَمَامُ الدِّينِ وَنِظَامُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. He is the reign of the religion. He is the system or the framework of the Muslims. Salah al-Dunya. He is the corrector of the world. وَعِزُّ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And he is the honor of the believers. So it's trying to kind of define broadly what the scope is. And if the scope is understood, then the suitable party should follow based on those basic definitions. Right? So it's saying, who can be worthy of someone who is not reign of religion as in control, but really they say the buck stops there. They should be the one who is strategizing and the one who is executing religious strategy. They are the system of the Muslims. It's nizam. It's not just about expression. It should be systematized. And they are the corrector of the world. That means the right way of living. The Imam is able to understand, to strategize, and execute. One easy example, especially younger people, it's kind of the issue of their day. They say like the ecological crisis, right? Ecological crisis comes into existence. Why? Because either we willfully, knowledgeably, intentionally are destroying the earth, which why would we do that? Unless we're only selfish and care about our life and our time, or we don't know what we're doing. And a byproduct of our terrible, kind of way of living is destroying the planet. So this has interestingly become the issue of the day. How can we not destroy the planet? So the Imam is supposed to be there to help us live our life in a way that we don't destroy the planet. Yeah, you have a great product, but it's creating so much waste in the form of, plastic that's going to be dumped in the ocean. This is not good. Don't do it. So the Imam is going to come and, embargo and say, actually what? You cannot bring this product to market. Not, it's not the capital and the investor coming and telling you can do it, we'll lobby here. We're talking about politics, right? We throw a little money at this congressman and that person, and we'll get it to market. You're destroying the planet. Who cares? Anyway, let's move forward. And all this, there's so many other things too. So there's more. No, let's keep going forward because we don't have enough time. Okay, so all I wanted us to do in that first introduction is to establish that we're looking at a different class of person. Different class of person, right? And once we get to the different class of person, you're going to have to say, okay, well, we need someone that is of that caliber. We stop playing the game of, well, who's better than everyone else, right? That inherently is a compromise. And again, I know there were comments made here. It's really just to draw into our conversation. It's an important, that strategy of, the lesser of two evils. Everyone will accept that a lesser of two evils is already a compromised position to be in. Otherwise, why would you, with your own choice, say, "Oh, who's the lesser of two evils?" You're going to say, "Who's the better choice?" So this Imam is trying to say, Imam is not a realm of compromise. Muslim community needs to move away from thinking about life as a compromise. You know why? When we do that, we're effectively saying, "Allah, Khudafis, Imam, Khudafis." It is us and only us. That's exactly shirk. It's like saying, God, you forsake us. God, you abandon us. Let's figure out what we should do in our circumstance. Tawheed, exactly. Allah, you are present. You are mudabbir al-umur. Okay, so what are we trying to accomplish hopefully today? Number one, the goal, the inspiring goal, is for each of us to understand why we need the Imam. Personally, kind of what benefit will the Imam have in our lives? Number two, to help us understand the value of the Imam and what his arrival will introduce. Now, why is that important? Because if you are imagining a future, a brighter future tomorrow, you would hope that you can see the tomorrow sooner rather than later, right? All of this is just going to be in the interim. You know, like, I'm working hard right now, but all of this is for a more comfortable tomorrow. So you're able to endure today. But imagine if you're working hard, and there's no guarantee of a tomorrow. Why do you think people become depressed? Why do you think people become nihilistic? Why do you think people, younger kids here, lose the desire to live? For some of them, it's because there's no guarantee of a brighter tomorrow. So the person, why should I keep grinding away? I might as well put myself out of my misery. So what the Imam saying, what are we looking forward to? Is really the thirst there, the hunger there, or it's just, Allah, whenever Allah decides. A lot of Muslims, they believe this. Yeah, Mahdi is going to come, a Messiah is going to come, someone who's going to bring justice on this earth is going to come, but whenever God decides. What does that attitude mean? I have nothing to look forward to. I'm living my life. And whenever God decides He wants to do this, it's His business. It's not my business. So there's no intidal. And number three, for us to be able to gauge what's currently happening, what needs to happen, what will happen, that concept of social wilayah is effectively this third point. What action plan can we create on the back of these first two? Okay, next slide. Okay, so our three areas of discussions, I've already explained these, let's keep moving on. Alright, so section number one is why do I need the Imam, personally? Let's go, next slide. Okay, so this is an introductory point. The Imam of our time, we know through history that he had certain right? He had four official delegates that he had that served as official channels of communication during his occultation. When he would write letters to them or letters to other people, they call it tawqi'at. That means the written letters of the Imam. And in them he would answer questions or give instruction. One of the letters that's attributed is written to the Grand Sheikh al-Mufid. And to Sheikh al-Mufid he begins to explain kind of like why the Imam is necessary for each person individually. And a part of that he says, وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَشْيَاعَنَا وَقَّفَهُمُ اللَّهُ لِطَاعَتِهِ عَلَى اجْتِمَاعٍ مِنَ الْقُلُوبِ في الوفاء بالعهد عليهم لما تأخر عنهم اليمن بلقائنا ولتعجلت لهم السعادة بمشاهدتنا على حق المعرفة وصدقها منها بنا. It says, and if our Shia, that means those people who have assented to follow our path, may Allah grant them success and obedience, were to unite their hearts, social wilayah, and stay true to the oath that they have given. That means walk the walk. It means the way of living that we've taught them as Shia, if they continue to do that, their ability to visit us will not be delayed. Right, so I need the Imam. Why do I need the Imam? Many of your younger people will say, well, you're telling me the Imam is in hiding, so he's inaccessible. So what are you talking about then? It doesn't matter what I'm doing, Allah is going to decide at some point for the Imam to come. And if I'm there, I'll do something. But in the meantime, is there anything to do? No, there's nothing to do. The Imam is telling him, listen, if you're actually staying the course, that channel of engaging with us is open. Though the Imam will remain hidden for the rest of the universe, but the engagement for you to also participate is there. So it's not saying the door is closed for everyone. Yes, we cannot go around saying, I met the Imam. Anyone who says that is a liar. Anyone who truly has engagement is not allowed to make those proclamations. But it's not saying that there is no access. There is access, it's just privileged. And it also says, فَمَا يَحْسِبُنَا عَنْهُمْ إِلَّا مَتَّصِلُ بِنَا مِمَّا نُكْرِهُ وَلَا نُؤْثِرُهُ مِنْهُمْ. Okay, so how do they get closer? Nothing distances us from them, our Shia, except for what we receive of their actions. We all know our right? The report of our actions are delivered to the Imam. Allah has facilitated that for our amal to be given to the Imam, not only every Friday, but especially on Layal al-Qadr, especially 15th of Sha'ban. So the Imam says actions that are not pleasing to us and we do not expect from them. So the Imam is not Allah. Imam is not God. Despite maybe some of the, ghuluv that maybe finds its way in some forms of Shiism, but the Imam's job is not to say heaven or hell. The Imam's job is, but the Imam says, I am an Imam of Shia. I am a leader of a group of people. I am responsible for what? Their guidance and their performance. Right? A manager is responsible ultimately for the performance of their team. So the Imam says, I'm getting your performance reports. You're doing things I don't expect of you. Right? I'm recruiting you. You've assented to be a part of the team using the analogy we gave yesterday. I'm not expecting you to do these things. So the Imam said the bar is set higher for you. Come, improve your performance so that we can start working together towards that future. Okay, next slide. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that we take for granted. Time of occultation is time of fitna. Fitna is not just about gossiping or fitna means a time of grand difficulty. Fitna comes from fatina. Fatina means, when you want to purify gold, you got to heat it up. Why? Because through the process of heating it up, what happens? The impurities are taken away. So Imam says that during time of occultation, we turn the heat up. Oh, why would you do that? That's oppressive. No. We turn the heat up. Why? To purify. The time of occultation is one of two purifications happen. Purification towards good, purification towards evil. It means people are moving in one of two directions. Quran tells us, this is a really difficult verse to read, but I'm going to read it anyways. Close your eyes and ears if you don't want to hear it. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Did the people think that we were just going to leave them, let them go? That they say, we believe, and they won't be tested? I'm Shia. Okay, that's it. That's it. I'm a Shia. I'm never going to not be Shia. I'm accepted. Let's go to heaven. Let's be happy together. وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. You think we're just going to let them say that and move on? وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. Come on. The people who came before you, we tested them. فَلَيَعْلَمَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا وَلَيَعْلَمَنَ الْكَاذِبِينَ. So Allah saw who was truthful, who was a liar, who was honest, who was dishonest. So again, all of this is to set us up for success. See, my brother and my sister, if we are teaching our children that just say, Yo Ali, that's it, there's nothing else that needs to happen, Yo Hussein, and nothing else needs to happen, I think we're setting them up for failure. Now, I don't want to say things bigger, as I say, I shouldn't be speaking about things higher than my pay scale. I got to be careful. One Ya Hussein can fix a lot of things. But my point is, if our teaching method is just to say, don't worry about anything, just show up a couple of times a year, or just say a couple of things and everything will be okay, I don't know if the Quran is kind of saying that, right? So they're going to be tested. Next slide. Okay, so what happens in the time of fitna? Then people obviously, they're going to be in struggle. So just continue to read. Ayah 10 and 11 are helpful in this context. Let's move on. Next slide. Okay, so what's going to happen during the time of occultation? This is the point I was making. This is a riwayah from Imam Qadim, alayhi salatu wasalam. I'm going to draw attention to just a portion of it. It says, إِذَا فُقِدَ الْخَامِسُ مِنْ وُلْدِ السَّابِعِ. When the fifth of the seventh of us goes in occultation. So 7 plus 5 is 12. When the 12th Imam goes into occultation, فَاللَّهَ اللَّهَ فِي أَدْيَانِكُمْ. See, when Allah comes, in phrasing this, like, be very careful. Be very careful. It means like protect. As much as you can protect. So protect the asset of your adyan, your religion. And he continues, all the way. Effectively, he says that the time is going to get so tough that people are going to, they're going to fall away from the path. لَا يُزِيلُكُمْ عَنْهَا أَحَدٌ يَا بُنَيَّ. Don't let any of you kind of move away from this path, my children. إِنَّهُ لَا بُدَّ لِصَاحِبَ هَذَا الْأَمْرِ مِنْ غَيْبَةٍ. This ghayba, this occultation is going to happen. Imam Qadim is saying, it's going to happen. So prepare yourselves for that. I shared the example of kind of the winter storm coming yesterday. We'll just kind of plug that in and hopefully it's helpful to give explanation here. But the last point is really powerful. See, this is not a bala. Some of us, our children, think it's a bala. Come on, man, what is God doing? Maybe if I lived in the past, then I wouldn't have to worry about this bala. My imam was available, we wouldn't have any of these problems. So why is it my fault? Here it says, Ya bunayya. In the end of this, عقولكم تسخر عن هذا وأحلامكم تضيق عن حمله. He says that your your hearts and your intellects, like we said before, are not really to the capacity that they can resolve this issue. وَلَكِنْ إِن تَعِيشُوا فَسَوْفَ تُدْرِكُوا. If you strive, then you will experience this thing. But before that he says, وَلَوْ عَلِمَ آبَاؤُكُمْ وَأَجْدَادُكُمْ دِينًا أَصَحَّ مِنْ هَذَا لَاتَّبَعُوهُ. Had your fathers and grandfathers known a deen better than this, more trusted them, then they would have followed it. See, my brother and sister, the path is tried and tested. Yes, we need to make some adjustments for our circumstances for sure, but the basic path is established. It's really just about following it correctly. Not saying, oh, we need to go back to the drawing board. No. There's small adjustments that need to be made. Next slide. So that's the first thing. The Imam is there to help us preserve the basic foundation of what our religion is. Number 2 is to help create a balance in our animalistic needs and our desires. This is not a bad thing, but it's a part of our nature. Okay? We're speaking about materialism. There needs to be a balance there. When you create imbalance, what happens? Extreme. One extreme is totally materialistic, totally animalistic. Other extreme is, I turn away from all of my natural desires. They're both wrong. Right? There's no monasticism in Islam. There's no going and being a hermit in the mountain or a cave. That doesn't exist. And also you cannot be, do whatever you feel like doing either. These are extremes. So what does the Imam do? يَعْتِفُ الْهَوَى عَلَى الْهُدَى. He balances or adjusts or directs the desires towards the path of guidance. You have a need, you have a desire, you have an inclination. This is the correct way to use it. Now notice, it's not just saying halal, as if like the haram way is more pleasurable and the halal way is like a compromise. So this is your halal option. No. Imam is saying, listen, you want to have steak? You're allowed to have steak, but you can't go to this steakhouse. Go to this other steakhouse and have the steak. Or you can't, have a steak that's prepared this way, but you can have a steak that's prepared that way. See, sometimes the mistake we make is to say what? Sorry, my son, your religion is Islam, you're not allowed to have steak. Go eat a cheese sandwich. Oh, I'm sick of eating a cheese sandwich. Oh, well, you gotta have a cheese sandwich right now. Until the Imam comes, and maybe you can have, like a grilled cheese sandwich. That person is gonna get sick of eating the cheese sandwich over and over, right? And what's they're gonna see everyone eating all these delicious foods, and they're gonna say, what is this backwards religion that only cheese sandwich? Right? So Imam is saying, no, all of these Allah created. If you have a desire for eating a steak, and Allah made a steak, okay, so you can. There's probably a good way of eating a steak. Now, I know some of you say, what about pork, brother? There's gotta be some exceptions, Gotta eat everything, right? There's gotta be a little control. Maybe that's just there to control. I haven't tasted it, but a lot of people say they taste delicious. But what I've come to learn is, generally, if you eat, this is a personal testament. If you eat bad food, it's an acquired taste, right? This is ultra-processed food. In reality, it doesn't taste good. It's an acquired taste. So I eat it and I say, wow, it's really good. But someone who is eating good food, oh, this is disgusting, garbage. Anyway. So the Imam is there to do that. Ask any of your younger people. If you said, listen, you can have fun, you can explore all of the curiosity and creativeness that you want to have, you can live a comfortable life, would you like to be a Muslim and follow the Imam? 99.9% they're going to say yes, of course. Maybe one of them is just a rebel and then, no, I don't want to. But our kids are not bad. They're not rebels. But they have natural needs and we tell them no. Baba, can I go play a PlayStation? If you say no, Imam said no, then what's going to happen? He's not going to play PlayStation, he's going to play with his pet rock. Some of you are older, your toys, you had a rock, you would play with each other, you would have a good time, it was, fun, natural. This kid, you tell him no to PlayStation, no to, Nintendo Switch, no. He's just going to go behind your back and do it, right? He's just going to wait until he gets out of the house and he's going to do all those things, right? So there's a healthy way, a balanced way to be able to approach these things. إِذْ عَتَفُوا الْهُدَى عَلَى الْهَوَى. What does he do? He will have turned the guidance towards their desires. وَيَعْتِفُ الرَّأْيَ عَلَى الْقُرْآنِ. He will make their decision-making in accordance with the Qur'an. See, all of us want what? For our children to be students of the Qur'an and live according to the Qur'an. So if they have the basic principles that the Qur'an tells them laid out, then they say, I can do this because the Qur'an allows. I can't do this because the Qur'an doesn't allow. And they feel at peace with that. Why? Because there should be a logic, there should be rationality there. Okay. فَيُرِيكُمْ كَيْفَ عَدْلُ السِّيرَ وَيُحْيِي مَيِّتَ الْكِتَابِ وَالسُّنَّةِ. The Imam will come and show you the just, the balanced way of your behaviors, and revive the Quran and the Sunnah. Because the Quran and Sunnah was there to what? To allow us to live balanced lives that are enjoyable, that are pleasurable, that are full of happiness, that are full of comfort, but within boundaries and parameters. Okay, next slide. So the Imam will help you get through those difficult moments as a younger person. Number 3, the Imam can observe us and make comments, suggestions based on his observations. See, brother just mentioned, and I'm sure all of you will have said, how many parents come and say, listen, if my child just had a good mentor that was just his age or a few years older than him, he won't listen to me, I'm his father, I'm her mother, they won't listen to me. But what if someone was like in the middle age? I'm 50, I'm 60, I'm 70, my child is 15, 20, 25, 35, but what if someone who was like 40, 25 was his mentor or her mentor? They'd be able to speak their language, right? That's mentorship. And mentorship that's driven on observation. See, one of the roles that the Imam plays is that the Imam is present and makes observations of people. It is a really powerful story, and this is just a portion of it. One of the Ashab said, I went to Imam Ali to ask some questions. He was in a group of companions. Then as the session finished, he started going towards the masjid. Outside of the masjid, he observed, it's interesting that even in those times they had this, he observed a group of people kind of like chatting and gossiping and telling jokes and laughing and whatever. So they're having a good time and nothing wrong with that. So they see the Imam and they quickly all say, oh, whatever. They start running towards the Imam to say salam and to welcome him. Okay. فَسَلِّمُوا. They say salam to the Imam, فَرَدَّ التَّحِيَّةِ. The Imam responds to them. ثُمَّ قال. The Imam then asks us, مَنِ الْقَوْمِ? Like, who are you people? قالوا أناس من شيعتك يا أمير المؤمنين. We're your Shia. Okay. We're friendly. Okay. فقال. The Imam responded. فقال لهم خيرا. خير إن شاء الله. No. Okay. Good. ثم قال. Then the Imam said, يا هؤلاء. A group of my Shia. ما لي لا أرى فيكم سمة شيعتنا وحلية أحبتنا. How come I don't see the signs of Shia? How come I don't see the signs of those who love us present in you? What's going on? You're telling me you're Shia, but and you don't look Shia. What does a Shia look like? You don't look Shia. فَأَمْسَكَ الْقَوْمُ حَيَاءً. At least these young people were, they had that much maturity and tarbiyah, they just kept quiet. Out of shame, they didn't say anything. So the riwayah is really long. It's like, 5 pages long. Then the Imam begins to, they're like, what is the sign of the Shia? And the Imam explains to them, he says, we dress a certain way, we act a certain way, we speak a certain way, we eat a certain way, we sleep a certain way, all these things. Well, Shia is not just about, I'm a Shia. I just decided today I'm going to be a Shia. Why? Because your kids will know, it's kind of part of the discourse of identity politics. Identity. Today I decided I will be a Shia. So you can't, it's not about that. Just like today I decide my thing is this way, my gender is this, my political, it's not just about, you can't just declare it and then it becomes. So there's a whole bunch of things. There's characteristics that a person has to do to be a part of the club. So what happened? So what's the point to be made? The point is not to put down anyone or us even. It's to say there's an element of observation. Listen, if I come and observe something about someone, at most, if I'm being very generous to him, I'll just make like a snide comment so he hey, can't wear shorts in this masjid. What are we doing? So I'm saying this to preserve, right? But at the end of the day, I'm giving him a suggestion, but the suggestion is pretty much like, not nice. Or, I'll make some other maybe more, to the point the brother made. Even if it's the friendliest way, if you haven't built the trust, more likely the person is going to get offended. I can't tell you how many people, younger people, especially women, they say, listen, I came to a masjid or whatever, someone made a bad comment about my hijab, I never came again. Now, I'm not saying for people to come, poorly dressed. Of course not. There should be a standard, but so the observation is important. Imagine if we have a system where we actually have good, qualified, helpful people that are observing the state of affairs and then making suggestions in accordance to that. Next slide. And finally, the Imam serves as a friend. Imam is not just the executive. He's not just the big shot where no one can ever see him. Al-Imam is a hadith from Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Al-Imam anisu al-rafiq wal-walid al-shafiq wal-akhu al-shaqiq. The Imam is the comforter. He is the friend and the kind parent. He is the brotherly brother. And the mother tender with the young child. وَالْأُمُّ الْبَرَّةُ بِالْوَلَدِ الصَّغِيرِ وَمَفْزَعُ الْعِبَادِ فِي الدَّاهِيَةِ النَّابِ. He is a refuge for the servant in a difficult time or association. Imam is supposed to be a source of refuge. I made a mistake in my life. Come, Imam welcomes you, right? Because we'll work together to get out of this. Or in a time of happiness and goodness, the Imam's there to kind of settle and balance. That's what a friend is supposed to be for. So Imam serves the role of friend. We spoke about isolation. Even if we're not isolated, really, what is the quality of our friendships? That's the important question. So let's move to the next slide. Let's pass over this. This is too complex of a conversation for the time that we have right now. Every time I open that, the question and answer just gets totally derailed because it's such a complex topic that I'll make a strategic decision to move forward. And the last thing, because I think it was helpful considering the context, the Imam was also there to be a source of answers and guidance and strategy to answer these questions that are religious, legal, historical, interpretive in nature. It says in his return, what will happen? فَيَطُولُ أَمَدُهَا حَتَّى يَرْجِعُ عَنْ هَذَا الْأَمْرِ أَكْثَرَ مَنْ يَقُولُ بِهِ. This occultation will take so long that most of the people that had previously assented to it will leave. So it's not talking about the general public, it's talking about the Shia. The occultation will take so long that most of the Shia, they're gonna fall from the side. No, this thing is, it's made up or whatever. فلا يثبت عليه إلا من قوي يقينه وصحت معرفته ولم يجد في نفسه حرجا مما قضينا وسلم لنا أهل البيت. He's saying the ones that are able to stay the course are really the ones that have a strong foundation. Listen, my brother and my sister, we really have a crisis of literacy in our communities. In the crisis of literacy, this is not a sales pitch for you to invite me more so I can speak more, so I can make more money. It's not, I promise you, it's not about that. It's more about, there's a basic level of literacy that we should all have as Muslims to be able to live our lives as Muslims. It doesn't exist. We have good things and has sustained us up until now, but to move us forward, we don't have enough. We need to build on that. And here they're telling us in time of occultation, which is the most difficult time, of course there's going to be so much, to say, churn and burn. We're not going to be able to retain enough people if we don't have a strong foundation of literacy. The first doubt or the first question that your son or daughter asks you that they don't get a good answer, that's it, it's done. It's done. How can a person live 2,000 years? Science, that's it. You're gonna wait 50 years, maybe some study somewhere is gonna come. I found the answer to your question. I don't even believe in God anymore. I don't care about it. So the literacy helps build a foundation. It's not to tell them to be quiet, because that's one strategy too. Don't ask that question, because once you ask that question, once you open that door, there's no closing it. Kind of like what I did with the last slide. But we can't keep doing that always. And there are answers, I promise you. The little that I've studied, I promise you there's a wealth of good answers. At the very least, it competes with the other answers that are out there in the marketplace. I can promise you that much. Politically, economically, not scientifically, whatever that means, ethically, behaviorally, ecologically, there's at least answers that can compete with the other ones. So, if we're literate, then we can present them in the right way. And then ultimately the choice is the individuals. No, you cannot force. La ikraha fi din. You gotta be a Shia. No. None of your kids are running away because they have any, animosity towards Shiism, but they want to live their life. If they don't have a good way of living their life, they're gonna go and search for something better. So there's a crisis of literacy for sure. Okay, let's move on. This is a kind of an exercise that I did last time that was kind of interesting. I mean, the room is not that big, so maybe we'll do it with the show of hands, okay? So this is helping us gauge kind of like where we are as far as our need of the Imam and our connection with the Imam. These are really extreme examples, but it's meant to demonstrate a point, okay? And maybe we'll just pause here after that. All right, so the first scenario. If you agree, raise your hand. If you disagree, don't raise your hand. Extreme examples, please. I'm not advocating for any of these things. Number one, if the Imam asks you to jump in the ocean, but you don't know how to swim, raise your hand to agree, meaning like you're going to do it. And keep your hand down if you're not going to do it. All right, good. Most of you are trying to preserve your life, right? Isn't that a natural thing to do? Okay. Number 2. This is a spicy question because the Imam asks you to burn down a masjid. Agree, raising your hand, that means you'll do it. I think a lot of us, even if the Imam doesn't ask us, burn down the competition, huh? Masjid is wrong, you know. Anyway. Number 3, the Imam instructs you to give half of your wealth to charity. So hands up, agreed. Hands up. It's like for real. Like imagine if like, ta-da! And the Imam shows up for a second, like collect. It's like that, you know. All right. And number 4, you observe the Imam harming or potentially killing an innocent person. Agree meaning like you're not going to do anything. Disagree meaning you're gonna speak up and say, hey, what's going on here? All right. And the last one, just for the the ones who really want to reset society. In an effort to redistribute wealth, you were recruited to a secret organization to destroy the global financial records, thus wiping out debt and monetary assets of the 1%. Allah the Mr. Robot Show. Alright, okay, so what's the point of this exercise? It's not to solicit some sort of illegal activity. It's to get an idea of like the level of commitment, right? And these are maybe not great examples. Because the Imam is, probably a little distant from the popular perception. The Imam's going to come like, all right, everyone bear arms, let's go, cut people's throats. It's really not about that. It's more of a humanitarian project, right? Of helping spread the truth. And you can't you can't get someone by the rough and then go, do you believe the truth? And you can't beat them up. You can't beat the truth into them. You got to be an ambassador of truth. So maybe these are not the best examples, but the basic idea is like how committed I am to the project of the Imam. The more doubt or the less refined your engagement with the Imam is, obviously the less comfortable you would be in doing these things. I'd probably say no to all of them. Like, I can't swim, why am I jumping into a pool? Or not a pool, the ocean. Because you're going to drown. Alright, next slide. I'm going to end with this. Most of you know this story, so it's just a reminder. Story of Harun al-Makki. Right? How does the story go? Someone comes to visit the Imam from Khurasan and says, listen, Imam, you got a lot of followers. You got a lot of Shia. What's going on? Why are these Umayyads at Basra? Why are they in control? You're the rightful leader. Allah designated you. So we should do something about it. Okay. So he gave his whole pitch to the Imam, right? About, you have more support than you think. The Imam said, okay, that's, empathetic listening. The Imam did empathetic listening. And then the worker came in, and he asked the worker, is the fire prepared? Fire, to heat the house, or cook or whatever. Is the fire prepared? The fire pit prepared? And he said, yeah, it's prepared. So he told this Shia that came from Khurasan, he said, I'm paraphrasing, do me a favor and jump in the fire. And he thought that he'd offended the Imam. So the Imam is pretty much saying like, God punish you or whatever. So he said, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. If I said anything wrong, please forgive me. And he thought it was a matter of offense. So the Imam said, be quiet. Then Harun al-Makki, the worker came in and told Harun, jump in the fire. Harun went and jumped in. We just sat there, this guy's looking. He's probably more amazed, why isn't he burning? Right? Like, why isn't the fire burning him? But anyway, he's just sitting there observing. And Imam said, okay, you saw what he just did? So how many of these kind of followers do we have? He put his head down in shame, but he had to answer the question. He said, not many. So the Imam said, if I had enough people of this caliber, and I think the example is kind of the parallel is like fingers on my hand, then yeah, we would revolt and we would take control. So again, those examples that I gave, I promise you, the Imam probably doesn't want you to jump in the ocean if you don't know how to swim, and he's probably not going to ask most of us to jump into a fire pit like Harun al-Makki. But it's about commitment, and that commitment only comes with conviction, and that conviction only comes with buy-in, and that buy-in only comes with, you got to be all in, So once you're all in, you're ready to commit yourself. And honestly, none of the tests are going to be like this to start off. Can you give me half an hour a week? Can you give me an hour a week? Brother, can you come half an hour? Can you teach like a Quran class? I already work 100 hours. And truly you do. You truly do work 100 hours. And Allah give you tawfiq and give you more energy and more strength. But ultimately, the question is, can you give half an hour to the Imam? Can you give an hour to the Imam? Can you do some social wilaya a little bit? And if the answer to those questions are no, then the Imam is never going to ask you to jump in the fire. Because why would he do that? Alright, let's just pause and end there. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so there's 2 other sections remaining. I told you this was not going to be a sales pitch, but this is going to be a to be continued. This is the preview course. You buy the full course $59.99, and I'll throw in another course for free, and then you'll so inshallah this will remain. I mean, I'm more than happy to make it available if we have another opportunity. Inshallah we can go over it, but we can let this kind of, as they say, we let this marinate, and then inshallah next time I visit, or a better scholar or a real scholar can visit, inshallah, and run you through the rest of it and correct whatever mistakes I made, inshallah. So salawat Allah.
Can we ask a question?
Yeah.
So this Q&A session, and then we'll have the last discussion about the social wilaya project. So you can ask any question to both of them. That is topic on his slides and his topic on his presentation.
Please stand up. Yeah, I have a question, Maulana. Do you have any marja or any ayatollah who can connect to other Mahdi at present? At that time, rather, nobody can connect to other Mahdi or Islam. So is there anyone, marja or any ayatollah who is connected at present, or anything?
Yeah, so I'm gonna answer the question based on the basic principles that we have. First principle is, during the time of the Imam's minor occultation, there were 4 designated deputies by the Imam himself. After that time, in the 4th deputy, when he's ready to pass, the last communication Imam has with the 4th deputy, he tells him that get your affairs in order because you're going to die in the next few days. And then generally it was assumed that the Imam would tell them to designate this other person as the next deputy. But Imam clearly says that there's not going to be a deputy after you. Then the major occultation began. Since then, our tradition tells us that no one can officially make a claim of being officially, formally authorized in communication with the Imam at the time. So that's the answer to the question. Are people in conversation with the Imam? The riwayat's also telling us if people are kind of doing the right things, they should have the capacity to meet with the Imam, or the Imam will meet with them. And there's so many stories. Some of them may be more reliable, some of them may be not as much reliable, but whatever it is, we can also take for a fact that some people have and continue to meet the Imam. But the point is, they're not allowed to, nor should they publicize it, because publicizing it serves what purpose? Hey, I'm connected with the Imam, so let's... No, they're not allowed to do it. Yes, exactly. So they're not allowed to do that. All the Maraja are, again, totally above my level of understanding and comprehension. I shouldn't speak to that, but I don't know any of them that come out and say, I'm connected with the Imam. And if they did, then probably it's going to be, a lot of doubt and a lot of chaos and a lot of fitna is going to be created. So hopefully none of them do that.
Okay, I have a question for Dr. Walaya, you just mentioned it's a good speech, and we need to have more like that. So you mentioned oxytocin. Is that a medicine to, you mentioned one of them. Is that the medicine or just like a chemical, or can be, or this just a idea that we should congregation together or something? So if somebody doesn't get together, you mentioned the word oxytocin. What was that word?
Oxytocin is a chemical that a body secretes in response to any intimate relationship. So,
So can we give medically? That's
yes,
not possible.
yes, medically they have oxytocin sprays, nasal sprays.
Okay.
But they used in children with autism, but they didn't have any definite. They didn't have any conclusive results. So, if it is secreted naturally, it is more effective.
So there's psychiatry or psychology, psychiatry. There are a lot of medicines which are given to people, something like that. That's not, for psychiatric cases, people go and start shooting and they're depressed. There's so many things happen. So there are a lot of medicine which have to be given. If they miss that medicine, their depression is there and they start, wild, violent actions.
Yeah, I'll give you a disclaimer, I'm not a psychiatrist,
Yeah, okay.
but I can tell you this, there is a lot of research
Yeah.
of mind-body connection.
Yeah,
right?
like depression is the most important here nowadays. You see all these killings going on, eating medicine or something.
So there is a,
Depression for depression, I'm talking.
yes, there is a lot of depression called SSRIs, but now there is a new field called nutritional psychiatry.
Right.
That how by modifying your diet, you can have same effects. For example, depression, they found that people who exercise, they say certain chemicals which are as effective as medicines with no side effects. Maintaining a gratitude journal, writing down 5 things in a day that you should be grateful for. You woke up alive, it's a beautiful day, So if you write these things, they found over a period of 3 months that has more positive effects on controlling depression, then even the medicines, because these medicines, when you take them out, they have withdrawal symptoms, they are side effects. But the side effects of gratitude journal is positive side effects.
Yeah, so if we, like you're saying, so if we practice that socially, religiously, we don't need that medicine? Or we are socialized now, we are, the most we get our depression, or some of them, not all, but that won't solve all the
It won't
problems.
solve, but at least it has some positive effects.
Yes, some positive effects.
You have collective strength.
Right.
You have cohesiveness. You will take care of each other. In our religion, there is that if you don't see a brother for while you're not here, we should inquire about it.
Right.
But how many times we do that? We take it for granted, maybe something. So we don't really have that level of understanding because, again, as Maulana mentioned, it's the literacy, which is how much literacy you have about our religion. We spend most of our time become doctors and all that. Very little time we spend on learning religion. That's an unfortunate thing.
If you're asking Maulana, Ruhul Wahidi is here every day. We hardly get 1 or 2 students here for the last 2 years now. We've been monitoring here. Not to blame anybody, but telling you we need the passion to. So he's available, he's put on and everything. He's doing everything, but people not coming.
Yeah.
Yes. No question. 1 second. Just after this, you had a question. I stopped you.
Yeah, actually, I have a very personal question. For so many years, I'm trying to remember the nafs, the various kinds, nafs ammara, nafs lawama. Can you briefly, tell me that so that I can remember the main kinds? I really appreciate it.
So the question is like the different kinds, or like kind of how are they supposed to work?
Different kinds and
Sure, yeah.
and their main
Characteristics, features. Feel free to add anything else that I.
inventory.
Sure. So nafs is think about it as the basic component of controlling and directing human behavior. Okay. So the nafs can be in different levels or in different conditions. One of those conditions is called nafs ammara. Nafs ammara inna nafsa la'ammaratun bis-su. That's not a natural or normal position. Think of a balanced equilibrium. It's a little bit kind of like on the weaker side. That means it's constantly requesting things that are not good for it. So think about like a child that's still learning what right and wrong is. If you give them candy or ice cream, it's going to eat it every day, every meal, and they won't understand that if they continue to do that, they're going to get diabetes and they're going to get cavities, and they just don't know. So they're seeking the immediate pleasure. Or a lot of times they equate it to like a horse hasn't been tamed yet, right? It runs, it does whatever it wants, it kicks its rider off. It's ammaratun bis-su. Then one level kind of advanced of that they call nafsul lawama. Nafsul lawama says it's acknowledging that the ammara is there. It's acknowledging that some things are good and bad for it. And then when it makes a good choice, it encourages and it kind of it lends its support. And when it makes a bad choice, it's regretful of the decision that it made. That's nafsul lawama. So think about like your conscience. And then at the same time, we have past the balance, the middle ground, we have called nafsul mutmainna. So nafsul mutmainna is kind of like the peak level of the nafs. It means it's in its best shape, best condition, that it's more consistently than not, if not, an overwhelming majority of the time making the good choices for itself, and it's living a good life, and it's healthy, and it's vibrant, and it's doing all the things that it can do. If you kind of like compare it to the physical body, the nafsul mutmainna is like the one who's really the peak athlete. They can jump the highest, they can run the fastest, they can whatever. And then there's a spectrum in between these things. Now there are other certain types of conditions that are part of the nafs, but they don't come in that basic formulation of nafs. But they exist.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
of course.
Thanks a lot.
I have a question, Maulana.
The question I was looking into this. There is a psychologist called, his name is Alfred Rothman. He is a revert. So he made a very good infograph of this whole model of nafs amara, nafs lawama, and nafs mutmainna. It's all in a picture from, I'll send it to you. It's beautiful. And he says psychology or psychiatry does not work only if you take the life in this life. You have to have the concept of hereafter. So if you're just thinking about this life, you can use all these medicines that you want, you're not going to get happy. You're not going to get treated. You have to have the concept of akhirat. So,
One second. Sorry, Mother. Ladies, any questions back there?
One question.
Okay, yeah, you can ask it, right? Oh, yeah. No, we have a question, right? No, sorry.
So you mentioned the presentation that the thing is literacy, right? The literacy which you should have to answer questions for it. So do you suggest any action plan for me? Because let's say if I don't have anything, so there should be a starting point. So do you have any sharp point which I could take?
Yeah, so depending on how much time we have, I can present a more comprehensive action plan. Yeah, so there's...
Only one, just that one.
Okay, so here's a basic principle to follow. I'm going to take for granted that you should be in a state of learning things. That means you should be a career student. So learn the things that have direct benefit, immediate benefit to your life. So, for example, I'm going to go study the Irfani tafsir of the dot under Ba Bismillah. 10 volumes already. Okay. Is that a mandatory for your life right now? And if it is, great. And if it's not, then go do the other things first and then come back to this. Right? So, like for example, I remember a scholar, a lot of times they go to these villages in different parts of Iran, they have so little access. It's such a shame though. You have so many learned people, no one's going to work and rolling up their sleeves and working in grassroots initiatives. And you went to the whole village, no one had established correctly the concept of ghusl. Some people have not been ghusl for like 50 years. Right? But maybe, they knew all the, Sher Ashar and all this, like Irfan and Irfan and all. Those things are good, by the way. They're excellent. But, all we gotta do ghusl, That's the day-to-day, I'm not saying the fiqh is the more important, the Irfan. It's not. It's just the instruction from the imams. Learn things and teach your kids things that they need in their day-to-day life. And maybe that's how to, for them, how to navigate social media.
So to this point, we mentioned you already coming here, mashallah. So Maulana Ruhollah Wahidi is available. It's mashallah very well, especially the Quran, but also fiqh, anything you guys need, he's available here. We can start with that. You already started with mashallah. So that's one thing you can do. Any questions?
Now, Sheikh Shumali has a very beautiful video on how to gain knowledge. Talab al-ilm farizatul kulli muslimin wa muslimat. Talab means like eagerness. You should be really eager to do it. Not let these things come to you, strive for it. So it's a very good, about half an hour video on YouTube.
From people who cannot come here, we also, Dr. Referred, the Urdu Foundation also, I saw the offering Quran classes and everything, so anybody likes to do it, we can give information for them too.
Okay. The other question is when we are depressed and we go to the extreme we cry and we do that thing. Is that depression? They take out our depression and we cry and we do, think about a lot of this thing, sorrowful. Is that really our depression?
I'm going to give a bad example because not only am I not a psychologist, not a psych, I'm nothing. Here's maybe an example that may be helpful. Look, I'm struggling with this, so I'll share this. Many of you may have homes that have a lawn, right? So this is one of the prized American assets to have, a lawn, picket fence, all this. Right? So my lawn requires care. Okay? So if I have full of grass, nice color, it's because someone took care of it. Okay. If I don't take care of my lawn, weeds are going to grow, things are going to get out of control, other animals are going to come live there, and it's going to create problems. Now, solution to that potentially may be someone's going to say, throw all the pesticides on it to kill the weeds. Okay, it's effective. The weeds will die. But ultimately, the sign of a healthy lawn, someone who's going to bomb the lawn with a bunch of weed killer? Of course not. What's a good sustainable step to do? Do a pH test, see what the soil, the nutrients it needs, give it the correct nutrients, take care of it, water it, seed it, aerate it, do all those things. A lot of times when we're looking at these issues, brother, it's not about if I cry, will it solve my depression? Because it's tantamount to saying, if I want a vibrant lawn, can I just throw weed killer on that and will it solve all the problems? Of course not. It may be a part of the solution, but effectively, will it be the entire solution? No, it won't. That's one thing. The second thing is that we're talking about different types of lawns with different states. One person's lawn has been cared for, and pH is good, its minerals are good. I shouldn't throw weed killer on that, because it'll destroy the lawn. I don't put pesticides on it. And the other one is totally outgrowing all sorts of different things. You probably need a little weed killer to help him. But ultimately, imagine you just had to maintain the lawn throughout the year. You sometimes need to give it some. This seed, this mineral, this engagement, that engagement. It's all part of what? They say in these commercials when they're trying to sell your kids garbage breakfast, it's all part of a balanced breakfast. You gotta have a balanced breakfast. Otherwise, our religion is not a religion of magic. Even though sometimes we treat Mom, I have diabetes, make it go away. Oh, yeah, if the mom wants, you can do shifa like that. But the point is, I can't have a poor diet and then go to their mom and say, come on, I don't want diabetes anymore. It's not. Crying, laughing, learning, all of these are a part of what maintaining a good lawn. And sometimes, someone may be in a more extreme state they need help. They have a patcher. I think this is a more important thing to think about. Otherwise, not even until tomorrow, we'll be here forever because someone's lawn is like this, someone has a blue crabgrass, someone lives in Texas, someone lives in New Jersey. They have differences. Sorry, this is not a good example.
Yeah, actually, it's a very vast topic, depression. Someone can speak for whole day on this topic. But I would like to say one important thing. It might benefit everyone. A lot of my friends and relatives were having depression. So they asked me, how we can get rid of. So I said, let me ask you one quick question. Are you working? They said, no. I said, start working. They said, are you sure? I'm 100% sure. And then within few days they asked, my depression is gone. So once you are idle and free and not active, you may have that depression. I may have. Anyone can have. But once you are active, you are involved, you don't have time for depression. Honestly speaking.
Unless you work too much, then you get depression from nothing. I think most people have a depression of overwork in this country. Come on, man. Anyone here collecting government benefits? No, man. Everyone's grinding 12 hours a day.
Exactly.
No, but then my question is going to be that if the person says, yes, I'm working,
Right.
what would be the next suggestion you would give?
Next thing I usually ask, how is your wife? How's your wife? And then they say, oh, my wife is well. I said, why? He said, one second. So I asked why. And they say, usually, oh, she's fighting. So I said, no, she's not fighting. You are fighting with her. He said, no, how do you know? I said, I know. So they said, okay, what I should do? I said, go to your office tomorrow and call her from your office and tell her you are the most beautiful person in the world. And then they ask, what will happen? So I tell them, you will see what will happen. And the same thing happened. He went to office, he called, hello, he said, what do you want? And then he said, you are the most beautiful person in the world. Said, oh, really? Okay. What time you will be home?
So that
I feel it might happen.
my comment is this. So that this is what you're saying is not a fixed science. That means that if I go to another counselor, he says the first question will be, how much is Allah in your life? He will say 0. So that will be my suggestion to him. And bring Allah in your life, you will get less correction.
That's the most important.
Right. So, Maulana, going back to this point, we're discussing this, and I think in our culture, in our, I guess, Indo-Pak culture at least, I don't know about Irani culture, the concept of depression, anxiety, we can't ignore that. Or sometimes we don't even know about it. And we are dealing with this on a daily basis, and that's totally affecting how we are interacting with our family, how we interact with our community, and how are we being productive or not. So how we don't get anything from ulama, from the members, anything about these valid topics that will at least get you to the level where they can understand what Wilayat is. That's way up there. You know what I'm saying? Right now, you don't know just taking care of your wife or husband or this.
That's a good point.
Yeah. How can we do it more organized?
So I'll try to give maybe a different way of thinking about the issue, but it's an incredibly valid point. See, when it comes to helping address our concerns, there's two basic approaches that Islam takes. One is proactive, one is reactive. Okay? Proactive means you set the stages for semi-ideal living, and then that should resolve most of the issues. Reactive is, for one reason or another, an imbalance has been created that requires intervention. Okay, let me give another bad example. Islam says to live a healthy life, you have to eat a good diet, you have to exercise, you have to sleep, you have to work, you have to do all these things. So that's the ideal type of living. That's proactive. Reactive is, I'm not sleeping enough for whatever reason, I don't have a good diet for whatever reason, I'm not exercising for whatever reason, now I'm in pain, it requires intervention. Okay. So the way we address each of these two issues are different. If a person comes to me and says, I'm in severe pain, maybe you can't tell him to have a salad-based diet because he's in pain right now, or she's in pain. So they need help, they need intervention, right? So okay, take this pill, maybe we do this procedure, maybe you undergo this different activity, exercise, whatever. But for the one who's trying to aspire to the ideal, I also can't tell them to take an extreme measure because they don't need it. If he's not in pain, he shouldn't be taking painkillers. So, in Islam, most of the focus is towards what? Preventative approach. Living correctly, healthily, balanced. It's putting most of its time, investment, resource investment to teach people to live correctly. Because if most people listen and most people apply, they'll probably be within the sphere of a balanced life, and it can be managed without crisis intervention. Now, if most people ignore that and everyone has a crisis, then Islam is going to be able to help for sure, but its model is not designed to be crisis intervention. Islam is not a pharmacy where they create different drugs so a person can take it because of their failure to live a balanced life, right? Bad example. If I don't have a good diet and don't exercise, maybe I can go to my doctor and twist his arm, and I'm not going to come to you anymore. Okay. Write me a prescription. What is this? Ozempic? What are they taking right now? Okay, so definitely some people need that. But for me, let's say I'm lazy and I'm not eating a good diet. It's a disservice to me if someone is going to, okay, this is a solution to a problem. And if anything, what is it doing? Implicitly, it's enabling. I don't care. You want to go eat junk food for the rest of your life. You don't want to. Islam's model is not that. Why? Because Islam is not invested in how many more customers can I get? How much more money can I? So live a balanced life. As far as literacy, I'm talking about the crisis is, respectfully, most of us have not set the foundation to understand what, and also the execution of what a balanced life is. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. See, if my child doesn't know that a balanced living includes partially work, partially entertainment, partially sleep, partial spiritual engagement, and they live imbalanced life, then of course they're going to get sick. Of course they're going to get depressed. Of course they're going to get burnt out. Of course they're going to get, rebellious. Now all of a sudden you're going to tell the guy, hey, write some prescriptions. I'm sorry, I'm not a pharmacist. I can help to my extent. And this is one of the things, yes, Maulanas, alims, scholars, they definitely need to have a better appreciation of all these things. But please, my brother and my sister, their main role is to help teach preventative medicine, preventative lifestyle. They are and will continue to be overwhelmed, and everyone will be in for a rude awakening if they keep bringing in emergency patients and saying, please, Toro Khuda, do something. What do you want him to do? What do you want her to do? At best, they're going to, okay, give me the knife, let me do some surgery. Oh, what is this? I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is either. Oh, let's stitch it up. Okay, I stitch it up, go home. Is that fair expectation to have? It's not. It's not. Now, again, with all the failings that exist, this is a major failing and it's a fundamental failing to have. And you can say, oh, you're not learned, you're ignorant, you don't do anything all day, you're a waste of space, all you do is sit and drink chai, all you do is get my money and don't do whatever argument you want to make. If that basic distinction is not there, then we're not in a position to say anything. Right? Okay, that's a hard truth that we need to accept. And from there, then the demand comes to train more, appropriate, qualified individuals for those things. A Maulana cannot be a juristic expert, a tafsir expert, a spirituality expert, and then also natural medicine expert, counselor expert, chaplain expert. Come on, then they'll be the imam then. It's not possible. But they can help in certain things. They can give referral. Look, you're living, it's what seems to be imbalanced. Islam tells you to do A, B, and C. What can we do to help? And then if they need intervention, then send them to the appropriate party to intervene. This is one of the concerns that I'm having. I'm seeing this trend towards Maulana should be mental health professional. Some Maulana should be cross-trained in mental health, for sure. And if they wanted to get specialty, let them go study 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, however many years to get qualified and credentialed. But just know that they cannot also then become MBA. They cannot also become, they cannot. They just how much, they don't live to 500 years. So that comes a part of the strategy. Oh, we need 5 mental health Maulana. Okay, you go study, you go study, you go study, you go study. We need a 5 counselor. You go study, you go study. We need something, whatever it is. Identify the need, strategize towards meeting the needs. Otherwise, again, we'll be here in the next year, 10 years, 5 years. It'll be, why don't we have a Maulana that, is in electronic vehicles? We need an EV Maulana. Like, okay. Tell them so they can go study, and why do we need them? It's kind of things. Yeah, so.
MashaAllah, very nice. What you said was we need strategic planning.
Yes.
Right. Yes. So we need to analyze our needs and what our resources are. And that's why, inshallah, we try to develop this network of social wilaya and whatever available resources are. So I like to pass around a paper if brothers can fill out their name, telephone number, email, and also what their expertise is and how can they contribute towards this concept of social wilaya. So it's going to Brother Shabir is going to pass around. So please fill out as much as you can if you're willing to.
He's asking for name, profession,
and how they can help. And I just one second. I just want to thank Brother Ahmad. We had a problem here with the electricity, and he fixed it within a few minutes. And this is the example of social wilaya at work.
All the PowerPoint presentation today was because because it was not working last night. You got called, I told you last night. You can let it know.
Brother,
there probably everybody is saying a lot of ingredients for the depression and all the problems we have in the community. One of the ingredients I will just point out, and that is, I will just reflect to your speech where you said the Muslims are mirror to other brothers. If very honestly we look around our friends are our Mormon brothers, and we say they are mirrors, they are all broken. You want to see the picture of your in the mirror? You do not have many reliable, loyal friends who you can talk about your worries, about your problems. We call ourselves Mormon, we call ourselves friends, but honestly, very few around us who you can talk your gut out. What is happening with me, economically, socially, or any other problems in my life? Very rare. I'm not saying all, but most of the mirrors are broken. You tell them their gut out, tomorrow it will be on the internet. Right? Or they will one day, they will tell you, you told me this thing, now you're talking this something else. So the very important ingredient for this sake is to have a good friends around you. At least 4, 5 of them, or 2 or 4 of them, who you can talk every night or every other day or whenever you have a problem, and you know that person is going to reflect to your problem very honestly and give you advice. From there you can take lead to health. From there you can take to the, like going to the swimming pool, they're going to take to the walking, but everything will start from the good friends around you. Then we can call it mirror.
Yeah, that's the line. That's
No,
what
but
Dr. Saab was
No,
talking
the
about.
thing is, it starts with us.
Yes.
Don't say you are not doing it.
Right.
Say, what are we doing it?
Correct.
See, this is our empowerment.
Yes.
Stephen Covey is a writer and writes 7 Habits. So he makes a very good, beautiful circle diagram. 2 circles. In the middle is your circle of influence that you control, your diet, your health, your exercise, your family relations, okay? And the other one is a circle of concern. You don't have any influence over it. It's just mental worry. But if you increase your circle of influence, the circle of concern diminishes. So I think we should look at ourselves. How are we? Honestly, since I start doing the research, I said I need to improve my people skills. People were thinking that basically I'm a very introvert person. But people misconstrue this, that think that I'm proud or arrogant. I'm not. But the people have a misconception about it. So you need to come out of your shell. You need to develop the social skills. And that all comes from practice. We can nurture it. Nobody is born with these things, but you can nurture it. So I think what we need to do is what we are. Are we falling into the trap? How we can we improve ourselves and our relations?
Yes.
So all these points that you mentioned about friends being not mirrors, broken mirrors, and so we're talking about strategies, right? How can we start first step, right?
Yes.
We're talking about individually level, like apne aap mein. First, for example, what we're noticing, if I myself is depressed, you don't know about this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a mirror because I'm already have my own issues there. I'm home. So I have to fix, you know what I'm saying? My family, I'm having fighting with my family or whatever. So I think if we grow outward, like from an individual level first, and then my wife, my kids, then I'll reach out to my family, extended family, and then my community. So I think that has a systematic way. You start thinking social bilaya, connection with from Masjid Ali ke bhai ki main connect karu. Where should I start? It's going to be too much. At least you start, we have a systematic way of.
Good answer. I would like to say to my friend that I personally feel that if he's talking of 4 person talking every day, I feel even if I have one good friend, I'm very lucky and very fortunate. But one guy asked Imam how I can know that this my friend also loves me or not. He said, you can know. He said, oh really? Can you tell me the scale? How much he loves? I said, sure, I can tell you. In the scale, how much that friend loves you. He said, sir, tell me how. I said, And he said that you look into your own heart, how
you love
much you love him. He also loves you in the same capacity.
One thing before we take the next comment about Dr. Razan for the way he, we're finishing, the way he talks and gives comments, that's how he does his poetry too. Same action, same passion, same style, mashallah. बहुत ही अच्छा मुखलिस अंदाज में, alhamdulillah. Right? Very jazba, mashallah. Allah salamat. Should we finish with that or yes? Last question.
Sometimes, at least myself, we notice that we are superior, So is there a way to get out of your system so that when we come home after working the gatherings and all that, we should be more thankful as to what we are
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to remain humble. See, like, we read the Quran, look to the statements of Ahlul Bayt. Quran, a lot of times the prophets of Allah are making what dua? Tawaffani Muslima. Tawaffani Muslima. Prophet of God saying, Allah, when I die, please let me be Muslim. Okay, so to your point, maybe if some of us are saying, I'm already VIP in the paradise, that's not good, right? Because what guarantee do we have? He said, okay, fantastic. That's the right answer. But I thought Mahdi saw some of these people outside the masjid and he says, wow, you don't look like a Shia. The point brother made about broken mirrors. Yeah, absolutely, totally correct, 1,000,000% correct. But my mind also went to like, maybe we're not mirrors because we're not moments. So why do we always take for granted that we're already the highest level? It's like we celebrate, we inherit iman. But remember, that's behavior of Bani Israel. That they say, we are chosen people. Okay, Surah Juman. قُلْ إِنَّ الْمَوْتَ الَّذِي تَفِرُّونَ فَإِنَّهُ مُلَقِيكُمْ. فَتَمَنَّوْا الْمَوْتَ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. If you really have that, listen, if you had that confidence that you're a VIP in heaven, then Allah take me. Why are you waiting here? It's like, someone, it's like they're waiting in line to get in. Like you're going to a stadium or you're VIP, you're going box. Why do you want to, it's like you want to wait in line outside? You're flying first class, you want to wait in line? No, take me to the lounge and then put me in the first class. I don't even want to see these poor people. I want to go to my nice. So if you're already VIP in heaven, what are you doing here? Go into the box. What are you waiting here? Go into the lounge, eat the good food, eat the caviar, eat the, whatever Quran says. So then it's full humility. Inshallah, we are there. And with the wilayat Ahlul Bayt, for sure we will be. But the wilayat is also a slippery thing. Right? Because we don't get to tell the imams, I am your Shia. You're just going to say khair. I don't know in the Urdu what the way, it's like, okay. Already, like when a little kid says something, okay, good. So that's one thing really to work. That humility helps us build on that. Never Imam said, they're always teaching us this in dua. We read this, we read that, dua, we read that. Allah forgive me, please, make my end a good end. That's the humility should come from there, definitely. So not have that superiority come. The last thing I want to mention. All of you, mashallah, I can tell. I apologize, I wish all of you had more time to share, because obviously there's so much good wisdom here, life experience here. But you know what's really important to create a good, vibrant social wilaya? You got to bridge the gap between the older generation that have the experience and the younger generation that have the energy and the fire. These two have to meet, right? So maybe this is something we can work on. Because I'm seeing a lot of experienced people here, really a lot of it, but I'm not seeing a lot of youth to be able to deliver your strategies, to work on your strategies, to execute your strategies. And Ahlul Bayt have told us, the elders, their position is to give strategy to the young people and help the young people execute that. And alhamdulillah, Allah give you all long life, long energy, long strength, but let's be honest now, you all probably don't have the fire that you did when you were 35, 40, 25. Inshallah, you're young in heart. But it may be tough for you to grind 10 hours, 11 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours. Some of you are probably saying, I'm working 15 hours, and my son, he's not even not even going to school or he's not working hard. That you're true. That's maybe true, but ultimately we have to bridge that gap. The social life is only going to happen with them. Because at your point, you're like, I succeeded in my career. My career, it's the sunset of my career. I live my life. I don't really need all these big things. Who cares? Swimming pool. Why do I need a swimming pool? I don't even like to swim. But a young person has the ambition of living their life to the fullest. So they say, I need this. I want this. I'm hungry for this. So social life has to, inshallah, bridge that gap. Alhamdulillah, all of you are capable of doing that. Alhamdulillah, this community has the capacity to do that. That's one thing that we should be mindful of, inshallah, in our strategy.
You want to ask one
I'm
question?
not asking a question, but I have a comment about our brothers who ask about resources to improve our Islamic knowledge. I would like to share my experience. Alhamdulillah, nowadays all of us have mobiles with internet connection. So for my case, I ride the train to go to work. Take me about 1 hour. I use this 1 hour to listen to lectures from Maulana Wahidi, from Sayyid Rizwan Razvi, from Sayyid Mustafa Al-Qazwini. So I encourage myself and my brothers to use this technology to listen to the lectures that are already available and talk about life aspect of our religion, what is the religion point of view of how to treat our family, how to treat our wives. Okay, so we have the tool to improve our knowledge. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much for sharing.
One other point which Maulana probably can corroborate this says the hadith is 1 hour, 1 sa'at of tafakkur. See, just listening is one thing, but for it to convert it into action, you need to do contemplation. Tafakkur. 1 sa'at of tafakkur is equivalent to how many 70 years of ibadah?
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever we learn, we have to put it in action. And according to one of the brothers who was, he asked Ayatollah Belger, how to achieve taqwa? They said, whatever knowledge you have, put it in action. So you don't have to read big books and all that. Whatever little knowledge, you have to pray on time. Pray on time. Don't find an excuse. Because sometimes it's hard. You'll be traveling or something. But when you have time, you still postpone it. We'll pray it later. So the first thing is that everybody knows. Pray on time. So that's one way of achieving taqwa. We have knowledge. Imam Ali said, if knowledge is not from true action, it's a burden. So we have this knowledge. I'm sure we have the common knowledge that we all have. Praying on time, and all these things, but sometimes we postpone it. So you're not going to achieve the higher levels of spirituality when you are not even passing the small stage.
A quick anecdote about this because I mentioned Abu Ghassan. Interestingly, people would come to him from different places looking to get Tabarrukin. So someone was coming to him from Tehran. It's not that far to Qom, an hour and a half, 2 hours. So he came to him and he finally waited and he said, I want a spiritual program from you. So write me a program. I can get spiritual. So Basha turns to him and says, do your namal sometime. Okay, but in his heart he felt a little offended, I came all the way over here to Arif and then this is what he told me? So anyway, that's okay, you're done. So he went, and for a few weeks he didn't come to the session, and he came back again looking for a more spiritual program. But he didn't do the salat on time in the way that he was supposed to do it. So he came back to the session and he asked Ashad again, give me another spiritual program. And he gave him the same one. Third session the guy came, he was upset. And then Ashad, he didn't, before it became time for private consultation, he said in the group, no one knew in the group he said, yes, some people travel from afar coming here asking for spiritual programs, but they don't take the first step that they've been requested. Even you go Arafa Billah, it's unlikely he's going to tell you, actually if you read this dua, then it's going to, dollar bills are going to come from shit. They're not magicians, they're not trying to, I'm going to tell you this zikr, and then the water is going to turn into gold or whatever. I promise you it's not going to happen. If anything, then the person's a snake oil salesman. They're probably going to sell you the dua. And then next time you go, you need another dua, and the price is going to get more. And then another dua. And then before you know, you're going to call me and say, Maulana, I need dua. Okay. I don't know how to write duas. But you're really just looking for a cheaper dua. Because it gets more expensive. Allah protect all of you, inshallah. Let's act on what we know. Dua, inshallah. Yeah.
Let's quickly have an announcement to make, inshallah. Just a brief announcement quickly. First of all, I'd like to thank Maulana Mahdi Mohammad for coming all the way from DC area and giving us 2 days of his time. He's very busy there and he's here. And yesterday's lecture was amazing. Today's, I hope you guys learned something. I learned a lot from him. And he's been just amazing. And he will be coming here often, inshallah. So inshallah, so we'll have more workshops with him. He's very good with these things, and hopefully more people can join. If you let other people know when he's here, please go. You'll learn something more and practical. This is exactly what you want to do. And one last thing I was going to say is thank you, Dr. Mr. Jafri, for the great presentation. For that is also very relevant. Inshallah, we will build up on it. As you know, Maulana only talked about 1 out of 3 segments, so we still have 2 more to go. So inshallah, we'll have a follow-up series of this, and maybe another session on social wilaya and some practical way to connect. How we can do those things. With that, we will request more of the dua, and inshallah, we'll finish with that. Salawat.
Alright, so this is a dua that's really about the social wilaya. It's called dua wahda. Okay, dua wahda, and you have to hold your hands together. So we're going towards moment and after moment, so you gotta hold your brother and sister's hand in iman, inshallah, to recite dua wahda. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. La ilaha illallah. إلها واحدا ونحن له مسلمون لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره المشركون لا إله إلا الله ربنا ورب آبائنا الأولين لا إله إلا الله وحده أنجز وعده ونصر عبده وعز جنده وحزم الأحزاب وحده فله الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت ويحيي وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير.
I would request all the brothers to go and read this translation of this dua and pay attention. It's a very deep dua, so you just recite it, sometimes you don't understand.
I gave a promise right now, so go read the terms of the contract.
We have food in the kitchen area. People who are not fasting, please bismillah, go ahead. And for people who are fasting, there are boxes for you, so please take a walk and have with that.
Shamefully, I'm going to say, please, all of you, I thank you all for giving me the honor of coming. I always have this concern, so please, if I said something that was first wrong, or was said incorrectly, or said in a way that was not in the best akhlaq of Islam, or something that may have caused harm or hurt or broken heart, it was not my intention. I'm not perfect, I'm learning. So please, the bigness of your heart, please forgive me if anything was said that was not. Jazakumullah khair.
Yeah, true. Yeah, the second one. Yeah, the something funny? The hospital somebody had
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's so nice to know. Like, I did have a baby from your hospital. That was not. I was like, I don't know what they told me.
That's a good point. You don't have to, like, how long, or what you want to perform. Like, you want to so that's kind of like, that's the intention. Definitely preliminary stages, something like this. Before you know, preliminary stages is spending time. You don't want finding that service. So it doesn't become a it's a long, you always have all these challenges, but the person is that's really do you have an idea of whether it's Yes, yes, okay, good. Yes.
कुछ भी आप आगे टाइम पे और आप टाइम पे मिल गया सवाल जवाब मैंने रिकॉर्ड कर लिया हमने तो रिकॉर्डिंग हो गई है
वो तो मैं लाइव तो सुन नहीं रहा था बीच में से
हाँ जी
So it's really important for you to feel that everybody is both the chief and I guess no. So it has the basic